Guess what? Guess what?
Ah,
We done did it. I just have to change my description. Is desperate to. I can't change it until we go live.
oh, that's right. That happened to me recently, and someone very kind reached out and pointed out to me, and I completely forgot. Jeez. Wait,
I nailed it though.
what are you changing though? Do I need to
I
do that
changed.
too?
No, I just changed the description of my stream because the name of the stream is "The Show Must Go Off the Air New Year's PreEve,"
Pre,
right?
yes.
But my go live notification, I always have the same thing. Messing around is desperate and then to do something.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Where do I
so
change
right
that for
now,
me?
you go into the I don't know. I'm doing it on an iPad.
We're learning as we go. This
Listen,
is,
is that not the way to do it?
yeah.
Where do I say
Oh
it?
gosh. Okay, well, show me
So
a
right
little bit,
now
maybe.
it's
I don't know.
messing around is desperate to get a job. When I'm
Okay.
with Brandon, it's messing around is desperate to build a website. Because when I first started, it was desperate to learn C Sharp, desperate to learn JavaScript,
Where are you
desperate to.
changing this?
This is the stream info. That was a burp.
Did you just perish? No.
I burped. Yep, that's embarrassing.
Wait, where's stream info? Under about?
So your stream manager has your stream info.
Stream managers. Oh,
Yeah,
where's
yeah.
that?
So are you on the website, right? You're on your second screen.
Yes.
Okay, so you're on your website. Go to your creator dashboard,
We're learning. We're learning. Okay. Okay.
right? And then on the top left of that menu, there's a thing called Stream Manager.
Love it.
Yep.
And then what do I change for me?
You go to Edit Stream Info,
Where's that?
which is now on the right under Quick Actions, I believe.
The right under quick edit stream info. And mine
Yeah.
says the show. Oh, it does say PreEve. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, PreEve. Title is correct, but what does your go live notification say?
Ah. I'm going to change it. What did you change it to?
I changed it to messing around is desperate to get a job.
Okay. I'm going to just say change it to talking about. Well, what are we talking about today? We're talking about interviewing.
Yes,
Talking
we are.
about interviewing. I'm going to put an emoji.
I think that's good.
How about a crying emoji?
A crying, absolutely, absolutely. And then the deal is that's just the notification that people get when they're subscribed to you or when they're following you. They'll be like, "Hey, check it out. So and so is doing blah blah blah."
Okay, this
And
makes so much sense. Thank you to whoever messaged me about this because someone definitely did point this out to me the other day, and I do not remember who it was, and I super appreciate it because I'm very new to Twitch and y'all. I think we mentioned this last week, but I do have an affiliate joining me on my channel today.
it's
I feel
true.
very
My
humbled.
my mom just came in the chat and said,
Mama,
"You have
Matt!
commercials now."
Oh my gosh. Mama Matt. So let me tell you, I joined the last 2 minutes of Brandon and PJ's stream the other day, and I was astonished to see a McRib ad, and I couldn't be more happy. I've been thinking about it all week, and now I want to be an affiliate so people can learn about McRib from me. This is
Just
amazing.
out here really inspiring the people, you know? I got my new camera set up, which is just my cell phone strapped into a gimbal that's turned off.
Nice.
I've
Folks
got
may notice some Christmas festivities here. Okay.
I've got my background,
Love.
which is a poster from The Midnight, one of my favorite bands.
Ooh, hold it up a little closer. Can you?
Here we go.
I wanna
No, I
see.
can because it's
Ooh. I love this aesthetic. Cute.
yeah. They are like legit my favorites. They came to Orlando. It must have been November of last fall tour, so November of like last year. And I bought a VIP ticket for it. And I've never bought VIP tickets for anything. I always just get general admission. But it came with like a meet and greet and like a bag and first choice of merch. And I was stoked for it. I bought the VIP ticket. I got there early. I bought a shirt and a bandana and stickers and a poster. The poster might have been part of the VIP package, I think. And it came signed.
Okay.
And for Christmas that year, my wife got it framed.
I love
So
that.
now it's here on our printer.
I similarly had never bought a VIP ticket before and had always wanted to because I was always like, look at those people in their nice bathrooms, like
And
living
then
their
the Wiggles
fancy
came to
life.
town, and
No, close. So literally right before Rona hit and everything shut down, this was probably so I landed from Prague. I was speaking at Microsoft Ignite the tour, landed in Prague at like 2 p.m. was super jet lagged and had a double, layover flight or whatever. But I bought VIP tickets to see Pee Wee Herman live.
okay, no, that's
And
fair.
it was a life changing experience for me. I got to meet him and I
Paul
dressed up as him.
Rubens.
I met Paul Rubens. I will bring up some pictures in a sec here, but I cosplayed Pee Wee Herman, which is just girl Pee Wee. It's just something I made up. It was a screening of Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And he was touring it. Sadly, he had to end the tour early. It was going all over the United States for the 35th anniversary of Pee Wee's Big Adventure. I bought a VIP ticket. I not only got to meet my hero, the legend, the hero, Paul Rubens, but I also got to sit. Oh my gosh, it was so incredible. It was a screening of Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And then afterwards, Paul Rubens came out and had this huge stack of papers. And he talked to us about all of these like behind the scenes photos and footage of like Danny Elfman when he was 16, like he was like 18 or something when he like.
Oh my gosh, that's right. This was like his first big movie,
he had
wasn't it?
braces on. He was so young. And like Danny Elfman and who freaking directed it? Tim Burton.
Well, yeah, Tim Burton.
And so it's them, and you realize, like, sitting in this theater. So two amazing things from this experience. First of all, we weren't allowed to bring our phones in. They did this thing called, I can't think of it. They put your phone in these like bags,
and then you can't open the bag. Yeah.
So it was really unique experience because first of all, we got to meet Pee Wee Herman, but they didn't give us our VIP merch there. That comes back in a second. So we had to sit in the theater and be super present because even as you're waiting for everybody to file in, like you couldn't have your phone. They show this pre-show movie before best movie in the world, Pee Wee's Big Adventure. That's the red carpet footage that's never been seen before from the Hollywood Grauman Chinese Theater and all of the, oh my gosh, sorry, I'm nerding out on this because this was the like coolest thing in my life. So this is never before seen footage that MTV took. And they showed like once on the air, and because Pee Wee Herman was like a huge pop culture MTV.
Yeah, he was. Everyone sees him as like a kid show, but like I think it's crazy that
he was on the red carpet, like with the mic. But he was like, it was an adult show that turned kid.
Yeah, that turned kid. Yeah, yep.
So the demographic, especially in Los Angeles at the time, like to get a ticket to Pee Wee Herman Live was like, oh, you're like, it's an in thing. That's like right. It was very like, it started in the groundlings. It was very like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to send this to my.
Did Pee Wee Herman start with the groundlings?
He did with Lisa Kudrow.
You clearly know so much about Pee Wee Herman. I'm a little intimidated by your knowledge.
I've read a book. I very much want to live the life of Pee Wee Herman someday. Like that is my dream, to have a children's television show with like things that talk and come to life.
My friend tells me I missed my calling as a child show actor because there's a guy on YouTube like Peppy.
Okay, wait. I have thoughts about Blippi.
I
have thoughts about Blippi that I will say publicly on the air. Okay.
Oh.
I will get back to this. Put a pin in Blippi because Scott Aukerman taught me about Blippi, and I have thoughts about this. So this Hollywood Grauman Chinese Theater footage was incredible. It was Mr. T. It was like the Go-Go's, the Bangles, like all of these 80s stars. And then afterwards, and it's like everyone's acting crazy, right? And afterwards, Paul Rubens says to us, like, you don't see footage like this anymore because people's publicists will not let them on the red carpet with that much cocaine in their system. Now, because like this was the 80s, right? This is like
that's what people did.
And it's true. Like you're watching this footage and everyone's like, the movie was like so great. It was like such a good time. Like I really, really enjoyed it. This is like such a hit. So fascinating behind the scenes footage, all this behind the scenes stuff. But let me tell you something about Blippi, y'all. You may be wondering, why does this young woman know so much about Pee Wee Herman? Well, it's important to study your idols. And I recently discovered that Blippi, who has all this merch at Walmart and TV shows and Netflix
All
stuff,
over, yeah.
got everything pulled because there is footage of him like shitting into someone's mouth on TV. Or not on TV, on YouTube, I should say. And you literally had one job, right? Like to be a successful, and he's not even that good. This is like a guy who literally wears his pants up really high, wears a propeller hat. What I cannot understand is like you had one job to be a successful children entertainment programming actor, and it was to not do a viral video previously in your life where you that was involved feces, and yet. So like here I am, a woman who wants to do this, and I'm like, so all I have to do,
you just don't have to do that.
Make a viral video of like I don't know if he was shitting in someone's mouth. I should clarify that. Like
I was gonna say I see zero about this on the internet.
Let me show you. I found out about this through Scott Aukerman. It's like Blippi poop. What I'm searching here. Yeah, so Kidstar, YouTube, Blippi. This is a BuzzFeed News article. I'll share it. I feel very strongly about this because I want to work in children's television programming one day, and when I found out that this is a thing, I was like, you had literally one, like, if you're going to be going into this line of work, there's maybe one thing in your past that like you shouldn't have done, right? Like here, can you see this? There we go. Like you had one job.
What?
So
is happening in my world right now?
And I literally went to Walmart recently to pick up a Baby Yoda toy, and there was so much Blippi merch there. And here's what I don't understand. Why is this man making a living as a children's television programming entertainer? You have one job. I feel very strongly about this, and no one's talking about it.
I will tell you, this is bananas. This is bananas. From 2019, he's still got merch.
And here's the deal. I found out about Blippi because there's like these certain videos, right? Like this is why I want to get into specifically STEM children's programming eventually, is like formative entertainment for me when I was younger, right? Like if I had had computer science earlier, it would have made such a huge difference in my life. But Blippi's videos often are like selling toys and products. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of responsibility as a television. Like I've talked with Aunt Lindsay, crazy Aunt Lindsay, about this. She's doing wonderful. If you want to support an amazing Patreon, please donate and subscribe and follow Crazy Aunt Lindsay's Fab Lab Patreon. She's incredible. She is just a joy to watch. But I was, I have these discussions with people like this where I'm like, you have a duty and a job as someone teaching children. We're not talking about teenagers, children. Like even then, teenagers, that'd be bad too. But like, this is kids entertainment. Like you had one job. Anyway, that's my soapbox about Blippi. Can you believe?
This has been a wild show already, Chloe. We are 13 and a half minutes in, and we have talked about Pee Wee Herman, and we've talked about the rise and fall of YouTube star Blippi.
Cocaine of the 80s.
Hey, Callie said they're learning so much. This is an educational show.
This is a very educational show.
Let your kids watch this.
If you want to learn more about Pee Wee Herman, there's an amazing book I'm reading on my Kindle about it that I will post a link for later. It's pretty great.
So anyway, I believe I used the tag interviews in my stream info.
And you know what? We need to pause because we got on a very important tangent of my mentor, or I wish he was my mentor, my idol and spiritual leader, Pee Wee Herman. I'm belated at watching Pee Wee's Christmas special this year. I need to give it a watch tonight. Favorite entertainment program ever. But we're talking about interviewing today. But before we do that, we have to take our pick.
That's right. We do need a picture. What's my prop today?
So I have this is a wonderful shirt I got from 100 Soft. Shout out to 100 Soft, and a flickering trash can that
it represents the year, y'all.
2020. I was thinking of wearing this for New Year's Eve. Of course, if you looked at the title of this episode, it's New Year's PreEve.
PreEve.
The pre is like What did Phoebe say on Friends? New Year's Eve, right?
I think that's New Year's Eve.
Smelly cat, smelly cat.
I can enjoy Friends like 30 at a time if it's on. I went and visited my buddy in LA, and we were there so long. Let's get the pic.
Let me get my angles here. Okay, perfect.
My prop was a beer. But yeah, I went to see my friend, and over the weekend we did all this stuff. There was me and another friend hanging out with him. We went to a Dodgers game. We went to an art show / party / the vapor95.com, this company that I love. They had an art show pop-up shop thing. And so we went and listened to wild music and watched these weird art installations, like East LA stuff. It's totally normal. Wow. But we were hanging out, we did all that, and then the one buddy left and it was just me and the other guy, and I liked him a lot. So I was like, listen, can I just stay for 4 more days? And he was like, yeah. And so I just hung out on his couch. He would work. He'd wake up and he worked from home. And I would just hang out and watch Friends and eat a bunch of great food. And we'd go check out some of the bars that he liked around town and hang out with some of his friends. It was great. He was like, I feel bad you're not doing anything very LA. I was like, dude, if I want to go downtown LA when you're working, I'll go hang out in LA and ride a scooter around and go to Chinatown and do whatever I want. I just like hanging out with you. And we just watched a bunch of Friends and hung out.
Holds up. I'm actually...
I'm
rewatching Seinfeld right now.
It's funny how problematic Chandler is. When originally we were like, "Oh, Joey, you're such a bad guy," and now we're like, "Oh, Chandler, my God, you need to take it easy."
What's an example? Because I've been binging Seinfeld and not Friends, but what specifically about Chandler?
Chandler's very it's very homophobic in a lot of ways.
Oh, that's right.
Gets very angry about people thinking you can be gay. He's got a gay coworker, and doesn't he get mad when someone? It's the whole focal point of the episode. His father is trans, and it's very much played for laughs.
And it's played by a woman, right?
Yeah, but they were but you used to be a man, and they make jokes about it all the time in a not very not very good way. There's trans jokes available other than the one that every 16-year-old boy on Twitter uses when they think of a trans person.
Oh, but real quick, what beer are you drinking? Let's tag them in the pic.
Mango Cart.
But what's the brand?
It's Golden Road Brewing. A mango wheat ale.
Golden Road Brewing.
Ha! Yeah, tag them in it. They're from Los Angeles.
Maybe they'll send you some beer, PJ.
Y'all, send me some beer.
I got some stuff from LaCroix once. That was pretty nice.
Hey, Callie said they're watching Jane the Virgin right now. What was that, mid-2000s?
Jane the Virgin. That keeps popping up on my recommended on, I want to say Amazon or something. I've never watched it, but isn't that actress really problematic now? I'm not sure. That girl?
I guess everyone is, right? Yeah, it's hard. It's hard out here.
Hard to keep track.
Apparently, though, you can poop on people, and you still can be a child's...
Right?
Wild.
Okay, but we're talking about interviews. Come and share your advice, wisdom, horror stories in the comments.
That's right. Come tell us. Make me feel better. I have not had cut water. Have you had cut water?
Cut water?
Cut water is. Hey, Callie said cut water.
Cut water.
They drink.
No, but at Whole Foods I saw this thing called death water. That's
no.
Valley.
It's also just literally water, and their whole thing is you can get a free case if you sign over your soul.
Interesting.
And I'm like, it's just water.
I, at first, PJ, thought that you were drinking Twisted Tea, and I was showing my boyfriend all the new Twisted Tea memes.
Blah! You got That's what you do. You hit.
Dun, dun, dun. I can't wait to show that to Brandon.
That's so good. Thanks for the follow. I'm getting follows. Thank you, CM Griffing. I watch you all the time. It's weird. There's people that I follow and watch, and they've started following me now. It's so nice.
So
a margarita flavor, cocktails in a can. I'm into it. I'm into cocktails in a can. All right.
I tweeted if you want to retweet it, PJ.
Absolutely, yeah. It's funny since
I did that marketing poll where I put this. There's only 6 followers, so people feel bad for us, and they join.
Yes. What are we gonna do? That's right. I'm going to
tequila in a cut water. Wow. Is that like a Four Loco? Impressive. Wow, wow, wow.
All right, I'm gonna tag Golden Road Brew in my retweet.
Should I watch Jane the Virgin? Let me know in the comments. I'm rewatching Seinfeld and realizing that so many of the plots can be solved by modern technology and cell phones, and it's been very fun to like. There's this episode where Kramer runs down to the cafe to be like, Jerry, so and so's at your apartment, and I'm like, you could have texted him, and I was like, oh right.
Oh, that's right. My friend, I have the funniest, most clever friend in the whole world. His name is Carlos. We met in Korea. He's still over there teaching kids. He's the kindest, nicest, most authentic person I know. He wrote, and this is going to make zero sense to anyone, but I'm going to push through anyway. He wrote a series of skits called Korean Seinfeld.
Okay.
Where the idea is the four people is two of them are expats, right? Like Americans or Canadians living in Korea, and two of them are Koreans. And they have Seinfeld-esque hijinks in Korea that makes sense for people living in Korea. So the only one that I think I can try to explain. There's a meal called jjajangmyeon, which is like noodles with a black sauce on top.
Yes.
And George's girlfriend breaks up with him in the Korean Seinfeld episode.
And are these are Korean actors too?
You would have, well, he just made it up. It's like a thing my buddy wrote for fun.
Okay.
So he just writes these skits.
God, cute.
One of them was George goes to an Italian restaurant with his girlfriend, and she breaks up with him because he brought his own chopsticks to eat the Italian food with. And George is like, what? It's basically Italian jjajangmyeon. And like, that's exactly what George would do.
Yes.
It's
I love
brilliant.
that.
Oh my god, it's brilliant. Kramer has trouble with the squatty potties in Asia. All of his ideas were brilliant. They were so funny. Oh man. Oh my god. Love it.
So Larry Osterman on Twitter just said that I'm weird, and every time I see Metzen around, I think of this Facebook, which let me share my screen.
Is there a Facebook thing?
Wait, I need to do a reveal. I'm gonna share this tab of my oh, this is funny. Okay. Share. So Larry Osterman, I'm weird, and every time I see Metzen around, I think of this, which is clearly not PJ, but still. And then it goes.
What is this?
It says, I don't know, it's a band. Who are these people, and why are these two guys like? Okay, what's happening here? This is a band.
We do need to figure this out. We need to figure out what it's clearly a band.
Okay, PJ, you share your screen and deep dive this because I don't have a Facebook, or right. I do, but I don't go into it.
I mean, I don't really want to get on my Facebook on screen, but I guess I have to.
Okay, well, look up this band, Metzen around.
Okay, Metzen around.
I'm gonna add your screen. Is it cool if I add your screen? Permission to add your screen.
Go ahead and add the screen. Oh man, it got huge.
Okay, this looks like a production photo for "I Love You, You're Perfect Now" change. Click on it.
I feel like
there's other people in the picture. I don't know why it's so big for you. Look at that.
Oh my goodness, hold on.
What's happening?
Here we go. All right.
What the?
First off, I think like they don't want to see him being romantic with her.
Like, I don't want to see this.
Don't show that to me. It is hilarious.
Okay.
This is from 2017. We have to look at the band's like info though. Like
yeah,
I want to know what posts have they made.
We have a comment here that says this looks like a con pic. Okay, yes. This does. Oh, but there's no woman in that pic.
No, she's here.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
They have not done
what does that
too
say?
much. They've been doing something in Div 1, but I don't know.
What?
Lady Ain't a Champ parody? Is that
Maybe
like
that's
the lady is a tramp parody? Hold up. Also,
lady is a champ.
I do believe that my family made an album one time because my family is a bunch of musicians, and I believe they did make a album one time called Metzen Around.
I love. Is there any like? Is this a fake band?
Oh wait! This is first off. This is the album that my family made.
Hell yeah!
Metzen Around, late night party with the Metz family.
Are you in this?
I'm not, but my grandmother sings in it. My dad played drums. My grandfather played piano before he passed away on this. My uncle played bass. I believe my other uncle
I
wrote like the
love
liner
the
notes or
cover
something.
art. So
It
good.
might be my stepmom that did the cover art. But yeah, this album, my dad's a professional drummer, like a real good jazz drummer, and they made this cute little album.
Adorbs.
It's super cute. But that's where I first got the idea for it. So really, what I need to do is contact this
Who are these
band.
people? Wait, was that a link? Wait, go back, go back.
That was the photo from before.
No,
That was
no,
the
on
tweet.
Facebook, there were like on the right. What are those links?
Let me see.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's
I love a good rabbit hole. Okay. Oh my.
post.
Typically message replies within an hour.
They have not been on, and they never did anything. I think they made this band for a competition of some kind.
Maybe it's like there are at like FANG tech companies acapella groups. Like I want to say Twitter, the Asana has the Akasanas.
The
Um,
Akasanas.
Google, like they all compete, like all the startups and the big companies, and they have like a acapella pitch perfect esque, like back in the before times, because it's hard to do
Yeah,
it remotely, like competitions.
interesting. I mean, look, I'm gonna brag on my dad now for a second. Like my dad is like super legit, super amazing drummer. You can check him out on YouTube. Everyone should absolutely go. This is his album that he
Uh,
did called Bridging the Gap, where he did, and I know you can't hear it, so I'm just gonna pause it. Where he did like this is a cover of a Steely Dan song, where he did jazz covers of some more modern songs. He has an amazing cover of Overjoyed, the
Hell
Stevie
yeah.
Wonder song.
Hell yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, amazing version of it. I just went kayaking with my dad today, so like y'all really go check
Drop
out my
a
dad's music.
drop the link in our private chat and I'll put it in all the
Oh
chats.
yeah,
What's
okay. And I'm
your dad's
gonna
name is Eddie?
Eddie Metz Jr. That's my
Eddie
dad.
Metz. We love an artistic dad. Artistic dad
I really
show.
like. I couldn't help but do something artistic like at the end of the day because my dad's a drummer. My mother was a performer, and I think I told this
Oh,
story
we
before.
stand Mama Metz. Mama Metz, if you're watching, I'm such a fan. Also, didn't realize I was following your sister on the gram. And then I was like, who is this beautiful elf in my feed? And then I was like, surely I do not know this person. And then I was like, oh, this must be a Metz girl.
That's right. If you go back into the Mets family, actually, back when we were O'Donnells, back in that side of the family, circus performers and Kulowitches, circus performers,
Like vaudeville or like
like
where?
like trapeze. Like so,
Wait.
here it is.
Oh my God.
My grandmother, before she married my grandfather, her last name was Kulowich, and my
Okay.
grandmother's mom was an O'Donnell. But the Kulowiches on that side of the family, there's like a trapeze. A bunch of them were like trapeze artists. This is like
Okay.
I think 3 generations ago. So
What like so this is your
this
grandma's
is
grandma?
my grandma's grandma. I think yeah. I
I
got
love
trapeze in the
it.
back.
Oh my
Trapezing. I really,
gosh.
I couldn't help but do something artistic, but I feel like I got the short end of the stick because I was like, I'm gonna do poetry, and I play drums as well, but like I don't feel like I play drums as well as I write poetry. If that
Well,
makes sense, I don't know.
you're bringing your artistic talents to tech, my dude.
That's
Go
right. I'm
ahead.
here to write poems and play drum solos, and if you hire me, you can get that. And if you hire me, the show will
Well, go
end.
off the air. You never have
We're
to get notifications about it ever
sick
again.
of this show,
We need to make
sponsored by
this show
Golden Road
work.
Mango Cart.
PJ, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my dad, who is definitely not watching live, but will watch a recording of this later,
Yes.
professionally studied clowning, commedia dell'arte, and is like an expert clown and vaudeville
I got
person.
it.
Like he teaches it.
I love clowning. I think it is a amazing, amazing art.
Yes. If you're
I
not
think it's
familiar with your
fantastic.
commedia dell'arte, it's an Italian clowning art that famously one of my dad's students. So my dad used to be a college professor, and one of his students asked about chlamydia dell'arte once, a clarification question.
No,
Very
that's not.
different. But yeah, my dad does a lot of math work, and he studied commedia dell'arte with the best of them, and it was
That's
very.
awesome.
He used to show slides in all his classes of the nude beaches where his clowning troupe would perform, and I'd get very embarrassed as a kid, but now I think it's freaking great.
Now it's cool, right?
Very cool.
Now it's cool.
But yeah, I knew there was some sort of like circus connection here. These two goofs, this clown and
Look at these goofy guys.
Look at these goofs on the stream, just two goofs. Okay, so we're talking about interviewing, y'all.
Totally. Really, for the past 30 minutes, it's been all about interviews, really.
I mean, it has been showing people the important things that we need to cover today, which is Blippi is a literal piece of shit. That Pee Wee Herman is awesome, that PJ's mom is so awesome, and I'm obsessed with all of PJ's family and dad and sisters. And
y'all the best.
Gosh, we've talked about so many things. Also very exciting, I have a new microphone, I have new headphones. Y'all, look at this. I'm like Xenon, the 21st century. I'm like Britney Spears.
It's fantastic.
I have a new mic that I will very gently, for ASMR purposes, try not to move. It's pink. I'm very excited.
It looks like a Dr. Beats pill.
And I got a Stream Deck, which isn't plugged in because I didn't plug it.
Don't ruin the illusion.
I mean, I'm not doing anything with it, so I'm just going to put it over here.
I suppose, honestly, I need to get a second monitor before I get a Stream Deck. And a little thing to hold my laptop up high.
I honestly am very excited to play with it. And for folks who've never seen one before, they're like these little keyboard thingies.
It's for switching between scenes, right?
Yes, but there's all these integrations with like...
Chloe, we say yes and.
Yes, and, sir. There's all these integrations with, like, you can make it a soundboard, you can make it, like, integrate with your YouTube, with Twitch, so I'm pretty
Wait, a soundboard?
Yeah,
like we could be like morning DJs.
Dude, that's why I bought it.
Listen, I have something embarrassing to say. I just pulled my hamstring sitting.
Okay, Joey. Didn't Joey do... Oh, no, Joey got a hernia on Friends, just, like, sitting or something.
I'm gonna be rolling out my hamstring later on.
This is actually perfect timing because I think about it at this point of the episode last week, I hit my Fitbit step goal on the air by sitting.
for gesturing so much.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely. So interviewing. Who's interviewed?
So for anybody who's joining us, this is a show where we are trying to get PJ a job in DevRel, and
that's why I'm drinking on the air.
And he's drinking on the air, or as a junior dev. We're open to, or a Microsoft
senior
Q jockey.
A Q jockey. Absolutely, I'd be an amazing Q jockey for sure.
If you didn't join us last week, we spoke about an episode recently where Brandon Minnick and I discussed with our guest that there was a Q jockey for the customer support wait line. So I think PJ is a shoo-in for this, especially given his background in music.
He's going to play my dad's album over and over.
You could have your dad play drums live.
Q jockey. Dad, you are the Q music for Microsoft. Go.
Love. But we're talking about interviews today. So we've spent time on all these different episodes talking about different things to get PJ ready to interview as a junior candidate, we should say. Not necessarily as junior DevRel, as junior whatever. Hire.
I like that. Just make me a junior. I'll be junior Mints. I'll be a junior DevRel. I'll be junior senior, that indie tech pop group that did that song, Everybody.
Oh, I love that song.
Feet and everybody. Whoa. I'll be
He'll be your junior, whatever you want him to be. As long
my
as
dad's a junior, so I feel like
it works.
It works. It just works. Don't question it. Just give me money.
And I always tell people I was a junior in high school. So
That's right. I remember that.
Experience as a junior, kind of. But the first, let's try to see if we can remember all the things that we've covered on our previous episodes. Episode 1 was like, welcome to the show. And we went through job listings. So we pulled up 2 different DevRel job postings, expecting to be like, we're going to take
Here's what you need to work on. Yeah.
Let's see what we can grab from this. But turned out that PJ crossed a lot of them out. Or like checked a lot of them, I should say. Then what did we do? Episode 2 was with a guest. No, was episode 1?
Yeah. We had a guest. Episode 1 was just us. Episode 2 was with Daniel Kim.
With Daniel, who talked to us about authenticity.
Authenticity, absolutely.
And the most important, memorable moment of the show,
Putting your resume on a coffee mug.
putting your resume on a coffee mug. Shout out to Canva if you want to sponsor us, Canva.
Canva come through?
Well, oh, thank you for the t-shirt compliment, Diana.
Hey, that's
I
right.
also have the flickering pushcan
Do
here.
you also have the ornament?
The ornament?
There's an ornament of a dumpster
Oh,
fire.
I have the vinyl figure, the hat, the shirt, and this. And I love
Okay.
all of it. And I think I even bought some pins to give to people. Shout out to anybody who I owe a Christmas present to.
Guess what? You're getting a pin.
And then we talked to Diana last week. Shout out to Diana.
Mm-hmm.
Hello
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
Diana, who talked to us about, what did we talk about? Oh no, wait,
Oh,
did we miss our holiday episode? Our holiday episode was with Daniel. Sorry.
we
I
did
was like,
too. We did double holiday episodes.
we did double holidays. We did, and then our
Yeah.
one with Diana, we talked all
Talked
about
about getting my
gifts.
papers out there, doing talks, and just getting my face out there and doing stuff.
Yeah. And this episode's all about interviewing because
Yeah, that's
PJ and I were having a discussion before this where I was like, have we talked about this? Like what this looks like?
right.
He was like, kind of. And I was like, ooh, this is important. So,
As I understand it, and as many people in tech have said at various times in my experience with Twitter, because I'm funny. I'm very much in tech Twitter, and I'm lurking around, but I don't work in tech yet. So I feel like y'all talk about stuff, and I feel like that meme where the guy's like standing in the corner is like, they don't know. I'm like, they don't know. I don't know what they're saying, but
so
I know all about
famously,
interviewing, but I
it's
don't know about interviewing at all.
fake it till you make it. I think that even people who have interviewed before don't know what they're doing while they're interviewing as engineer, be it junior, senior, whatever it may be, because the process, which is something that they don't tell you, and I'm going to point people who junior candidates who reach out to me in the future to this video probably, because a lot of people don't tell you about this part, especially if you're a self-taught programmer. It's like not something that like, I mean, if you do your some research sure on like how does a software engineer get interviewed, but like if you're just teaching yourself how to code, like this might be kind of a whoa, like thought I just had to know how
I
to
thought I just
code.
had to show them the code. Like here's how I code. It's like no. Interviewing is something you have to study for, Chloe.
Yes. So PJ, let's start by you telling me your understanding as like detailed or undetailed or as ridiculous, because like even if you're like I go in and they yell at me, like what do you think the process is? And then I will tell you in my experience from my many years of interviewing as an engineer what that looks like.
Yeah. First, in a very deep bow, you crawl into the interview office and you never make eye contact. No, okay. So as I understand it, interviewing is like a multi-faceted process. It's not a single interview. Like when I've gotten jobs, there's been like a single interview where maybe I talk to two different people and then they say we like you or we don't like you or we'll let you know. Well, they don't usually say we don't like you. They're not like, well, you're awful. Please leave.
Sure.
But as far as tech goes, as I understand it, there's like the only thing I really get out of this is that there's a lot of steps, and one of them is a whiteboard interview where you have to write code onto a whiteboard in front of people and explain how the code works. Which, as everyone knows, is immediately applicable to all the production code that you people really do write on whiteboards all the time, always. It doesn't happen at all.
Sadly, no.
No.
Yeah, pretty accurate, I would say.
Is any of it based on like a feel? Like I got a vibe out of this guy.
Like, so kind of. Well, okay, so here's what I'll say. And for people who are joining us, we have 10 people who are live with us. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, y'all.
Please tell us about your experience interviewing as well, because I can only speak to my own and my friends' experiences. So, as a junior candidate, I can tell you that the interview process, for lack of a better term, is a bit of a mindfuck as a non-traditional background engineer. as we've talked about on the show before, computer science degrees typically do a lot of like algorithm work to prepare you for these kind of interviews. But for folks like us, who, if you've never tuned in before, this is PJ, high school teacher learning how to code and wants to get a job in tech. And I'm Chloe.
Hello.
I worked as too many things. I used to be an actress. I used to work at the Disney store. I did so many things. You can look at my LinkedIn. It's insane. But I assumed like, oh, I'll learn how to code. And like any other job, I'll be like, here's my resume. I'm a nice person. And then
they say, come code for us.
It's very different. So there's so many things that we've been covering on this show to get you ready for this, but we haven't talked about like the actual process of like what that interview looks like. And here's like the mini breakdown, and then we can, if you have questions about these different pieces, tell me and we can dive a little deeper. So in my experience, and this looks different at every company, be it a startup, a FANG company, I always think like Dracula, like a
FANG. But I always want to say it FONG because it's two A's. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, y'all.
Yes. For folks who do not know, because I just thought it was vampire companies who sourced young blood. So typically you apply. If you're a junior, you're typically cold applying because you don't have anybody to refer you, which is tough. And let me preface this by saying first job's the hardest, y'all. First job. Like after your second job and it's the chicken and egg thing. It's tough. Everyone's got to do it. But
also true of like for me for teaching, like getting your first job as a teacher. First off, if you make it past the first year of teaching and you're like, I want to do that again, like you're already like people are like, oh, good, yeah, stick around, please.
Right. Which is why I'm always like, if you went to a boot camp or you're self-taught, like you're in. In my mind, I'm like, I know how hard that is having done it. So round one as a junior, and keep in mind, we're talking about junior engineering. So think about your first job, y'all, if you're joining us and you're more senior folk, maybe.
First job out of college, something like a junior coming in.
So typically you'll cold apply because you don't have the experience to get referred internally. And you send out, my advice, a crap ton of apps because got fired out, hopefully put out a big net, cast a big, lots of
cast a big shadow. Right.
But typically the first round is either one of two things. It'll be a take-home test, which is very intimidating, and I hate it as someone with ADHD. They're typically timed. Sometimes it's a startup and they'll say, hey, do this and send it back to us. Sometimes it'll be like in a UI that tracks every click that you do, and it's very intimidating.
Every click, huh? So when I opened the 3 tabs of Reddit to just browse stuff, that's gonna look bad, huh?
It's wild. There are definitely some companies who do it better than others, but as someone with ADHD, I can attest that it's not a great timed things, specifically when there's not a human involved. Very, very difficult. Not very neurodiverse. What word am I looking for? Helpful. Yeah. Anyway, so after, typically it'll either be some sort of like a coding screen or something like that to kind of see your proficiency. Sometimes it'll be a take home, like, hey, try to use our API to do this, or here's a solve for whatever. Or it'll be more of an informal interview over the phone where it's like, hi, are you a real person? Can you talk on the phone? Like, do you know anything about code, just to get a feel for who you are? Typically it's with a recruiter or someone who's sort of vetting you before they pass you on, because engineers' time is very valuable. Like that's something to keep in mind, is if you make it onto an on-site, like they're very serious about seeing you, because engineers' time is very expensive, and like that's really why there's all this vetting beforehand. So then you'll typically do sometimes a coding challenge over the phone. I guess nowadays it's all over the phone and the internet. So maybe it's all video because it's just phone back in my day. These range, PJ, and I'm going to warn you, in a digital world, I interviewed at Google, and everyone will tell you this, they do their interviews in a Google Doc. And it is intimidating.
I feel like, we talked about this last episode. We were like, you just do it in a Google Doc.
It's there, but really, PJ, and we've talked about this before, what they're looking for in these whiteboarding or pair programming, whatever you want to call it, is they want to hear you talk through the problem. And you don't have to get the problem right necessarily to get moved on to the next round or to get an offer, for that matter. I know tons of people who've gotten jobs because they were like, wow, like I paired on this with my interviewer and they got a great sense for like how I work and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So typically though, when you do an on-site, so long story short, you do the phone screen or the coding challenge thing, you do some
Yeah.
sort of informal thing.
Yeah.
Typically you would do an on-site. Now this is probably in the Rona age going to be virtual for you.
Yeah.
But your on-site is typically with 5 people. So, and it's an all-day ordeal. So wake up early, have your caffeine, mentally and physically prepare yourself for a day of reckoning. Um, Most of my interviews started at 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. I would start with a either whiteboarding esque or so typically these are the 5 things you're going to see in these interviews. You're going to have some sort of culture, quote unquote, interview where you have lunch, typically with someone on the team to make sure that like
Oh, that you vibe.
well, you vibe, but also that like to get a sense for like, hey, do you want to ask me any questions? I used to do these interviews at Century where I would have lunch with our candidates and be like, you can ask me any culture questions about what we do here. Like
Okay.
you can ask me candidly about like it's just sort of like this isn't an interview as much as it is just like you getting to know the vibe here.
Okay.
There's the kind of that one. There's typically some sort of design architecture, not design architecture interview, which can be anything like, tell me how you design a poker game, and it's not coding it, it's just kind of drafting out, or like, tell me how you build Facebook.
Oh,
Like, okay,
okay.
so I have to make a class for friends, and then kind of thinking through these more architecture type things. That's probably number two. Probably two whiteboarding-ish challenge things typically I found. One or two if they're nice. Zero if they're really nice. And then sometimes if it's a startup, I've found that usually if things go pretty well that day, you'll meet with someone on leadership. So a CEO, a CTO, a CMO, because the startups are typically anywhere from like 20 to 100 or so plus.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So, well, it depends on I've definitely interviewed at startups before where like, they want to make sure that someone that at least you're reporting into gets to meet you,
Yeah.
it seems. Microsoft, of course, was very different. I'm not talking about Microsoft interviews. I'm talking very specifically to PJ and his experience interviewing in a junior candidate role. These things get very
Yes.
different as you go on in your life and your experience.
Okay. Good.
So with all that being said, there's really kind of these 5, I think of it a lot like Legends of the Hidden Temple. Like there's sort of these like 5 obstacle course things that you have to get
Find
through.
the culture at lunch.
Next. We
Next.
have a nice long comment here that I'm going to try to share on the screen. My most recent experience, 3 to 4 rounds of interviews, pair programming sesh, or showcasing technical skills in some capacity. That was my 3rd interview. Found the job from Twitter. I work as a front-end engineer and UI designer, started in web, and now I'm in SaaS products. That's sales as a service, not like...
I was going to say, I knew it was as a service, but I don't know what the S stood for.
So that's like Salesforce and stuff, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But the first jobs that I applied to were via Craigslist, believe it or not. Same. I think most of my early jobs were from LinkedIn, were from Angel List. My first job in tech at Yelp was from Craigslist, but that wasn't a tech. It wasn't an engineering.
You were in tech, but it was, yeah.
But with that being said, and I really love this point in this one that was saying that there was some pair programming and sessions showcasing technical skills in some capacity. Now, PJ, I did find a nice trend, a lovely trend that I adore in this industry is people are moving away from whiteboarding so much and going like, hey, let's go through a project that you've built and like discuss the choices that you made in it. Or like, let's walk through this code together. Like, let's pair. I really love a whiteboarding interview really should be pairing at the end of the day. Cause like, that's what you're putting on a show. Like you're auditioning essentially. You're like, if you're not talking during your whiteboarding interview, that's probably why you didn't get the job because that's why you're there and what you should be doing. So like in a lot of ways, PJ, and I felt this way when I was interviewing as performers and as people who stream, and especially as you who streams, you're already kind of doing this.
I'm streaming. That's right.
But I found whiteboarding compared to my cohort mates that I went to Hackbright with, and even just people that I, would go to, back in the before times, they would have all these, like, I would even host them, like, whiteboarding session practice things in the Bay Area because it's so common. But I found that while I didn't enjoy whiteboarding, it was easier for me because I could talk through these things and the things that I was frustrated about and what was going through my head a lot easier than
Yeah.
someone who had never done those kind of, because in a way it's public speaking. I mean, it's to a
Yeah.
small audience, but like you're talking through the solution
Well,
essentially.
people are always terrified of public speaking, but I got very lucky that I don't have that really. Like I've been comfortable in front of people for almost my whole life. So if you're telling me, "Hey, I need you to talk to these 5 people," that's fine. Or, "Hey, I need you to address these 500 people." Like I've addressed the entire school. That's 1,400 kids who are really half of them aren't paying attention, so it's only 700 kids. But
Right.
it's very much I don't have that like that fear because like I'm lucky. Like I definitely got lucky that that's not part of my wheelhouse up here in
It's a
my
superpower, dude.
headspace.
It's a
It
freaking
doesn't. I don't know.
superpower.
It
Oh,
must stem from marching band.
I have
Yeah,
one more thing to add. So there's 5 things, right? Now for
yeah.
devrel, an extra one here. Something that I found in devrel for a final round interview, if you decide to go that route, is typically you'll be asked to prepare some sort of presentation. Sometimes they'll say do it on our API, like the API you're interviewing to support, or
Uh-huh.
it'll be like, oh, if you have a presentation that you enjoy, like present that to us so we can get a sense of your presentation style.
That's the thing I don't need to worry about.
That we've got covered. I like this comment here that said, for that pair programming sesh, they gave me a fake app to work on and asked me to cover 3 topics: the UI, refactoring code, and how I troubleshoot the problem. That's really interesting. I really like that. Did you
That's
enjoy
cool.
that? I think that would be like a really pleasant. I wonder like what the was it like a fake app that they built? That's very thoughtful, like a
That
thoughtful
feels
way of
like a
doing
bit easier because then they're like, "Here's the thing. Here's all of it," and it's like, how do we change this? How
it.
do we
Yeah.
adjust this? What would you do? And that way they're seeing how you work in the context of the type of job that you'll be doing as a developer for sure.
Ooh, here's a
This
good
one I
thing.
like that comment too. Yeah.
Yeah, CoderPad or HackerRank for remote whiteboard like coding for this person's recent interviews. Yeah. I definitely. You know what's funny? I don't think I ever have ended up. I did a lot of practice in HackerRank and CoderPad. For whatever reason, my brain didn't vibe well with the UI, and luckily, I've never been interviewed in it. I've like because Google had like Google Docs, like all the other companies I interviewed had all their own UI and stuff. I talk about like no, I won't even get into that. But I've seen some bad UI to measure interviewing remote. I could get into it. Yes, super stressful. I could
Mm.
not agree more. Ooh, this is interesting. It was a fake app that they built that was
That they
similar
built.
to their own product's UI. That's awesome. I love that as a because typically, so PJ, to give you an idea of like, you've probably gone through a couple leak code problems. Typically, it's just like a leak code problem, and there's no context. It's just like solve for X, or like try to find
This
it's
poor
fizz
leak code
buzz.
problem. Oh, fizz buzz. I could do a fizz buzz. Can I do a fizz buzz?
But typically, what they're doing in these interviews, PJ, is they're like, okay, cool. So you solved for this. How can you solve for O of N? How can you solve more efficiently? And that's where these discussions about like I was talking about earlier with cracking the coding interview. And but if anybody is watching who has ADHD like me and had trouble reading cracking the coding interview, I will find the links now. But there are some really great videos from the woman who does the cracking the coding interview stuff that helped me with like O of N, and specifically, oh my gosh, PJ, I'm so excited to show you this.
Oh, man.
So I have a resource for you that you are gonna like. That I learned about during my boot camp. As an artistic person, you will love this. So, have you had to play at all with like bubble sort or merge sort or any of these kind of fun
I watched a
things?
video about bubble sort, but I've never had to do anything with it.
Cool. So, that's going to be a priority for us because if you do start interviewing, oftentimes these solutions, these whiteboarding, these program things often like to give you an idea, the last 2 weeks of my boot camp were just focused on like bubble sort, merge sort, like all these different things because these are the things that you use to solve these freaking whiteboard things. It sucks. It sucks.
Why
Literally, I
wouldn't
know
they
people
just?
who don't want to interview right now and they hate their job because they don't want to study this. Like they're like, I hate my job, I hate my boss, I don't want to work at this company, but I don't want to go on LeetCode, and it's terrible. I gotta tell you,
That seems wild.
but I have great news for you, PJ, which
Oh,
is
good.
I flashback to Chloe Condon, December of 2016. It was a cold, wintry Christmas time in Texas, in Weatherford, Texas, where I was visiting my boyfriend's family and crying because I had just gotten my first rejection from my first software engineering job I'd ever interviewed for.
Yeah.
And Ty's lovely mother, shout out to Karen, made me some Frito pie to warmed my heart and my soul when my heart was broken from thinking I was never going to work in
going to say my heart was burning from the Frito pie.
And I had heartburn. But I was on a treadmill just watching these O of N videos. But specifically this series, which I'm going to share on my screen in a moment.
3,
2, 1. So these are these. No, I don't want. I'm not looking for more.
Oh yeah, this is the video I saw.
Yes. So this is a Turkish dancing group that recreates all of the sorting methods. And I'm a very visual person who loves the performing arts. And this is how I personally was able to figure out how to solve some of these problems.
So this is what I think of when I think of a bubble sort now. I'm like, oh, you just take 2, compare them, put those in order, and then take 2 and compare them, and then do it one more time, and you're done.
Which essentially, when you think about it, so here's a quick source one that I'll play in the background too. Essentially, like, oops, I'm gonna get out of full screen. These are just essentially LeetCode problems set to dance. So my recommendation for anybody watching, and this is advice that I got from my boyfriend's mentor, shout out to Mecca over at Google. If you do one LeetCode problem a day for 30 days, you will have seen every single interviewing problem out there. Basically, you'll at least have touched on one, like each concept that could be thrown at you, right? Because everybody gets their interview problems from these kind of, resources and websites. And there's only really, in the same way that there's a certain set of musical notes, there's only a certain set of ways to like practice these things, right? So my advice to anybody out there is do one LeetCode problem a day, and I'll be transparent. Sometimes LeetCode problems take me 10 minutes. Sometimes they take me an hour. Sometimes they take me a full day.
I was going to say, I tried to do one the other day, and I did not do it.
But once you solve it, you remember forever. I highly recommend getting a paid account because I think you get to see more and you get like more access.
Yeah, you get a little more access.
But truly, once you have these sorting methods down, like totally, you're in the zone. And this is what we were talking about before the stream, PJ. Like, it's a weird profession that I work in and that you've chosen to work in, where you have to like, regardless of your level of experience, like my boyfriend working in tech his whole freaking life, people that I am dear friends with who are senior eng in this industry still have to study to interview. It's wild. And it's hard enough as a person working in the industry, but as a junior, oh my God. Like
as a junior with self-taught and, no CS degree and a kind of crooked smile, a little bit messed up on the smile, but like,
But this is all to say that, and this is why I am such a champion for non-traditional background engineers. If you can do this, like, you can do anything. This is hard. Like, what we're doing is hard. There's a reason why not everybody's a software engineer. This shit is hard. And you're doing it, dude. So
I'm in it for now, and that's okay for now. Like, that's sort of how I feel. I'm like, look, I did a thing. Like, right now I think I have like 78% of the JavaScript course for Codecademy done. And I'm like, hey, that was good. I worked on modules today, and I learned about JavaScript modules over the past few days. Oh, that's good. I know a lot of C# mostly, but I feel like I really ought to know JavaScript too. I don't know why I think this, but this is what I'm thinking.
But this is just going to be your interviewing journey, because I remember when I was interviewing, like I think my first interview ever was at Envoy, the like sign-in messaging service in San Francisco. And I left that interview knowing I wasn't going to get it. But I left it being like, oh, I need to work on my JavaScript. Like 4 out of the 5 interviews went great, but like I really screwed up on the JavaScript, and now I know to review that. So then I studied JavaScript, and then my next interview I nailed the JavaScript, but I was like, oh, I really need to brush up on like my community work. So I'm going to do a little bit of open source stuff. So like do a little bit of that. So you kind of like sculpt yourself as you go.
It's very much like a bubble sort of types. You're comparing yourself against something, and you're like, well, I lack a little bit in that, and then you step back and you adjust a little bit.
Exactly.
Thanks,
Higher
Hey
head.
Callie. Hey Callie is being very, very nice to me in the comments, and I
Yes.
appreciate it. This is what
You
I've
guys
discovered
are.
about like tech Twitter. As long as you're like a good person and you're like nice and you're like doing things the right way, people are like, you're great. And then but then I love that like once in a while all of tech Twitter is like, and that person is not, and everyone like is like, that was a bad
Don't
take, and
have to
everyone
near
lets them
my
know.
son ever again. Yeah,
That's right.
totally. It's it's really wonderful. I agree. I feel like I came from theater, which theater saved me as a person, and it's a wonderful community. But it also comes with its drama. I have
Don't
a
you
degree
dare.
in drama, so I'm allowed to make that joke.
Okay, I'll allow it.
But like that was actually really jarring for me. I remember my boyfriend introduced me to a good friend of ours, Monica, early on in my career because she had a very similar like vibe and aesthetic and working devrel. And he's like, "You guys should totally meet." Shout out to Monica who just got married, like eloped. I just saw it on Instagram.
Yay!
But we went out to coffee, and she was one of the first people I went out to coffee with, and people like Megan Spear and all these wonderful women who I took out before I even went to Hackbright. Like some of them, like this was like
Really? Oh wow.
pre-Hackbright, post-Hackbright, where I was like, hey, like, what is your advice? What do I do? And
How do I use a computer?
like, what is the,
I'll just
like,
warn you now. I don't know how to use a computer.
but I think that's like such a big part of like, you have to, how do you get the knowledge until you like talk to the people and know how any
Right.
of this stuff works? Cause like,
Right.
you know.
Man.
But I remember I was like, Ty, she doesn't want to talk to me. Why would Monica want to talk to me? Like, because in theater, if someone was like, oh, let me introduce you to my friend Erica, she's an actress too, like it would be like, oh, you're gonna audition in the Bay Area. Well, what kind of parts do you want? Like, because we're in direct competition, right? Like, there's
Exactly.
such a
You're going for
shortage
the
of
same
women.
thing.
So when all these women in tech were so wonderful and supportive and would take the time to meet with me, I was just like, am I in Bizarro World? Like, these
There's
people,
room for everyone at the table.
shout out to everyone, every nice person in tech, all the meanies. We don't like you.
We don't like that. That's true.
No meanies.
Support people supporting people. That's right,
Support
Hey
people,
Callie.
supporting people, and that truly is going to be what gets you your next job. Like
Listen.
every job that I've gotten has been a referral from someone who has been nice to me, I've been nice to them. It's all
It's all being nice.
part of the game. All part of
Yeah.
it. Okay, let's see. I love this. Support. Yes, support people, supporting people.
Yeah, and the next comment she made, we'll just build, or they made, we'll just build a bigger table. Yeah, because with
Yeah.
more people there, we know how to build the table more efficiently.
This table's huge, y'all. Gigantic table.
Listen, y'all. It's all about spreading what you have and sharing your gifts. The only reason you should look down on someone is if you're giving them a hand to help them up, or the only reason you should check what's in your neighbor's bowl is to see if they have enough. You know what I mean? Like help people.
Exactly. Before we finish things up today,
Quick up.
I want to share a thing that we were talking about off stream called interviewing.io.
Yes, I signed up for that.
Let's see. Let's see. PJ, are you logged into your account?
That's a fantastic question.
I'll just show you the page.
I signed up using LinkedIn, and then when I go to log in, it doesn't give me the option to use LinkedIn to log in.
Wow. Weird. Well, a resource that I'm going to share with everybody, especially folks who maybe have never ever interviewed before, or like just want to know, like, because the first time you interview is just, like I said, it's mindfuck. You're just like, whoa, this is like so different than anything I've ever done before. This website is wonderful. It's called interviewing.io. It is the most authentic thing that I have found out there that mimics a software engineering interview. And what is really freaking cool about it is it exists to, oh, look, there's a new watch interview section. We'll have to click on this.
Watch people interview?
It exists for people to practice interviewing and people to practice interviewing people. And you can make yourself anonymous. You can hide your voice. So maybe if you're a woman and you don't want to be judged, like I did that a bunch of times. And if you totally screw up, they like don't even have to know that it's you. But if you do reveal yourself, you can get like job offers and stuff from it if the company decides like, hey, they went really well. Like maybe we should interview this person. But really great website. Definitely give it a try. I believe it's made by the person who made Cracking the Coding interview. What is this watch interviews thing? Oh, look, you can actually watch some interviews here. I would highly recommend watching some of these, PJ, because this is going to be like watching the real deal, like watching someone. I'm sure someone live streams whiteboarding interviews. That's got to be a thing. Shout out if you know anybody in the comments. Look, inventive. Oh, and also it makes you like these auto-generated names. So Inventive Lizard interviewed by Admiral Lambda, a Microsoft engineer.
Just like Admiral Lambda to get all up on it.
Hero interviewed like GYRO.
That's amazing.
Or
I've been given an anonymous handle because I'm working on the website right now as well. Tasteful Bandersnatch.
I love.
I did see earlier Sagacious Fresh, and I wish I had kept it because I was just clicking through. Seeing if I can get to something.
Pirate, Phantom Mammoth.
Fresh sauce! Done.
But
hey,
yeah.
Where do you currently work with a drop down? Not available.
But anybody looking to get some practice, I gave PJ the advice to do some of these or watch some of these because, like, you really don't know how to interview until you interview. And even then, you have to use your previous interview to help with your next interview. And it's just like, it's a lot. So that's interviewing, I guess.
I mean,
Any questions?
Yeah. Come on, class. Tell us how you feel. I think this is cool. Like, really, like, I am in... When people ask me later, like I'll have been working in tech for like 10 years, they'll be like, how do you do it? What do I do to get in? I'll be like, first off, turn your hologram down. Second, I'll be like, I don't know, because I had people who were helping me the whole way and they kind of just told me everything. And so like I have to make sure that later on I'm the person telling other people too, you know what I mean? And that's really...
It's like Once on This Island. It's like, it's why we tell the story.
I'm one day going to try and like come up with a situation and see if you can, if I can stump you with a musical analogy where like you can't think of a musical analogy for the thing.
I have a story to tell that most people do not believe, but this is a true thing that happened. In high school, I had a teacher named Mr. Silvera. He taught U.S. government and politics. I was at a performing arts school, of course. And he had this like rainy day game. You know, like you used to do like heads up, 7-Up and stuff. This was high school. He would have like this kind of like, oh, it's a half day, whatever game where he would play the first 3 to 5 seconds of a song, 3 to 5 seconds of a song, and people would have to guess what the song was. And I was always terrible at the pop culture ones, but I told him like repeatedly, he's like, Chloe, you never participate. And I said, and you would get extra credit too. And I said, Mr. Silvera, if you do one of these with Broadway musicals, I assure you that I will get every single one. And he did a special one just for me. And PJ, I kid you not, I got every single one within the first 2 seconds. And I've played, this is like a party trick that I can do. My boyfriend just
how deep were the tracks?
Like, I'm talking like everything, like, and down to the cast. Like, I could be like, original 1977 London cast of Hair. Like I knew all of the different actors.
London cast of Hair? Oh, I was thinking Hairspray. I was like, I do not want to see the London cast of Hairspray.
So if you ever see me in public, or if this is a fun parlor trick that I can pull out, and you just have a Spotify playlist that you just that you put a Broadway playlist on, like that, I can...
That's like me with 90s ska.
Right. It's like, and this is like, I feel like I've written so many tweets like this before that are like, I cannot remember how to do regex, but I can sing the entirety of Sing Pod. Like,
I will go Pirates of Penzance all over you, but I have to Google how to do a for each loop for JavaScript sometimes.
And my boyfriend loves it because he gets all these lovely renditions of Worst Pies in London. Like but nary a remembrance of the code that I wrote 5 minutes before. That's right.
Witch has a good question in the comments for you, because I don't have a software job. This has got to be a question for you.
Yes. How many applications did you submit before you got your first software job? Okay, so this is a great question. I'm going to tell you my answer, but I'm also going to tell you that it's different for everyone. The advice that I was given was from several people who had gone to boot camp specifically, so this is a boot camp tactic, was send out as many, rapid fire those out, like make it rain, job applications over the whole kingdom, and cast a wide net, because here's the deal, especially if you're a non-traditional background person, recruiting software will filter you out often. A lot of times people are just vetting based on like going through a very, as a former recruiter, I can tell you, as a former recruiter who is non-technical, a lot of times it is totally not in your control if you get an onsite or go forward in the process. So I'll preface it with that. I used to sit on a panel at Hackbright, the engineering school that I went to, where 5 women were on this panel, and it was the How I Got My Job panel. I was on about 3 or 4 of them, all different women. But I just love doing it, so I always come back, return guest. Every single time we did this panel, the stories were so different. One time it was me who was like, I probably sent out over 100, maybe, like, but here's the thing, like, same resume to each one, same cover letter to each one, only slightly altering each one. So you can knock out like 20 in a day, like, truly, if you're, as long as it's not like a super, and some of the job apps at these places suck, like, and there's a lot of interview essay questions. So keep that in mind. Just set aside time to rapid fire apply. But on this panel, there was me who was like, rapid fire all of them out, and like, hopefully you get a catch. There was a girl who was like, I actually took 6 months off because I got engaged, and then I forgot how to program. So then I retaught myself how to do it, and then I got a referral from a friend. And then the girl next to her was like, I knew I wanted to work at a nonprofit that dealt with tree research, and I applied to that, and I got it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, that rules.
All right.
Then there would
Arboreal Annie over there.
Another girl would be like, oh, my mentor at Hackbright referred me. Like, there's so many ways that, like, you can get a job. My advice, though, love the name. Rapid fire, send as many out as you can. Just set aside an hour or 2 a day to get them out. We have a previous episode where I talk about applying to jobs, what time, what day, and everything. You can check that out. Tuesdays. But my advice would be not on Mondays, not on Fridays, that Tuesday through Thursday sweet spot. Send as many as you can out. And also, if you can, meet with people. Take people out to virtual coffee, but always go with a reason. Like, don't just say pick your brain. Like, say, hey, I'd love to talk to you. Like, try to build your network, because your network really is going to be what helps get your foot in the door. It's it's hard, but to answer your question, it depends. I have so many people have different stories of how to do this, but I am sure that I sent out a couple hundred. It took me 3 months to get my job. The average at Hackbright was 3 to 6 months. I'll tell you, for my cohort, I was in parallel with another cohort. So there were about 40 of us job searching at the same time. People started getting job offers trickling in at about like week 2 or 3 after the boot camp, but those were the very, very experienced folks who had maybe interviewed in a technical position before. Folks like me, who were totally junior, new to it, it was a 3-month process of like, first applying to jobs, which like was a week or 2.
It's just before. A bunch of work. It really is,
But here's my advice also. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. I see this happen all the time. Don't apply to a job, get 3/4 of the way through the interview, stop applying to jobs, because then if you don't get that job offer, you don't have any more waiting for you. Like, keep applying. That's my best advice, because that's happened to me before. I mean, you really are like, oh, like, this is it. I'm gonna get it.
I hope I get it. I really hope I get it.
Was your mom ever in that? I feel like your mom would be so good in that.
She would crush it, wouldn't she? No. What is
the main girl? The music and the mirror and the chairs today. I bet she's danced that routine before Mama Met's.
I would bet money she's done something like that. I'm trying to think of the shows she's done.
Give me a chance to. Again.
You know what we need to do pretty soon, Chloe, is we need to get Shania Bot up and running.
Dude, maybe that's what we do next show.
I'm down for that. I'm totally down for that. We'll take a break to talk about like the project we're working on and actually get Shania Bot hosted somewhere, which I'm totally dependent on you to help me, because all I know to host on is Azure, and that costs money.
Also, let's get Shania into a good place, maybe like open source wise, so when you do interview, you can talk about her.
We'll put her on both our GitHubs.
Love this for her.
I love this for
Shania.
her. I'm good with this. I get to go watch the end of the Gator game, hang out with my wife, make a nice New Year's PreEve out of the rest of the night.
So, PJ.
Yeah.
It's our final episode of the 2020.
Year. What a year it's been for this show.
I'm so excited because I know I'm about to say something and you're gonna be like, no.
You're
But
gonna say it, aren't you?
you're gonna be working in a software engineering job in 2021.
It's
Like,
true.
we're leaving this in the past. It's like the imposter syndrome's coming with though. It never goes
Oh
away.
yeah, it never goes. That's a little growth on me that stays forever.
But like, this
I'm
is the
thinking
final.
2021. Yeah.
2021 is gonna be the year, my dude. Like, how does it feel leaving? Let's reflect on 2020. Okay, I'm done. No.
Yeah. End of thought.
But I just want to say I'm super proud of you because like you've done a shit ton of work. Like you have done the work of a boot camp student during 2020 and I could barely get out of bed most days. So like, dude,
I'm pretty sure you started a Twitch channel and you were still pumping out content and you have been making seasons of serverless videos. So don't downplay yourself while trying to build me up.
I don't know
Thank you
who
very
that
much.
woman is. I don't know.
That's manic me. No.
It's so funny because like people truly I have it in my bio that I'm three Muppets in a trench coat and
And
no
each
one
Muppet has a
believes
different
me.
each
Like,
Muppet has a different function.
like I think like one of them must do the seasons of serverless videos because I have no recollection of recording them or editing them. Another one must do these streams. I don't know. But
Will
dude,
the real Chloe Condon please stand up?
so proud of you. Maybe we'll get B Dog, Brandon Minnick on
Let's
the
give B Dog
show.
some. Let's say next week we're gonna work on Shania.
We're working on
We'll
Shania.
get her open source ready. We'll get her hosted somehow. All of that stuff, and then the week after, let's get to Brandon early and see if he's got room for 2 Thursdays from now. The
I'll hit him
second
up.
Thursday of January.
And I feel like this is the end, but
Hashtag hire me.
hashtag hire PJ, hashtag bring back Q Jockey,
Thank you, Hey Callie, for sticking around and watching our stream, by the way, and
oh
all
my
of your
gosh.
positivity. So nice.
Thank you for always joining us. We love you. And I just want to say a final moment of the show. Thank you to all our guests that we've had. We've had some amazing guests this year. All two.
Oh yeah.
I thought there was a third one, but I was like, no. And we'll keep serving the content. We'll keep serving it until you give this guy a job.
Until this show is over. The show must end. We hate every second of it. Every moment on the air is like needles in my eyes.
And scene.